Hey, welcome back to Buck Junkies, where we talk about all things deer hunting we like to do. Guys, how's it going today?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Y'all,
You ready for the storm finna blow through?
that's why we're trying to squeeze this podcast in, is we've got all kinds of warnings. They're closing the schools.
Emily's getting off work early.
They're closing businesses. Are we closing here? I don't know.
I don't know.
Hadn't
Had to ask
talked to
operations.
boss.
Austin said no, he's
Actually-
hunkering down.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, we were going to run a tornado sale. Everything's half price in the store if you show up within
We
those
might
2 hours.
need to hook some more straps up to the roof to hold it on, because it's
They're supposed to get rowdy.
what are they saying? 75, 80 mile an hour straight
Yeah.
line winds.
30 mile an hour consistent and like 75
I have
gusts.
another Hurricane Elvis.
Oh, yeah, Abby's trampoline's gonna be gone.
Oh, is it not anchored down, dude?
Yes,
I was going to say, if you ain't, it's going to be in the pool or something.
it's redneck anchored. I went and tied a foiler to it.
Man, now you got me thinking about what I got anchored down. I got to get the kayaks in the
Oh,
house
yeah,
and
yeah.
tie it up to the shed.
Man, where are they at?
Out in the shed.
You better.
My couch cushions will be in Jamie's yard this afternoon.
Yeah.
They always are.
I don't know. Maybe it won't be near as bad. I don't remember, like, as a kid going to school and them letting school out half day for a potential storm.
You got in the hallway and done no hunker and kissed your
That
kneecap.
was it. I hated it.
Yeah.
You had to get your books and put over your head and get in the hallway.
You's
I
out
always
of
got licks. Because there's always cutting up, joking out there. Man, we had this one old mean English teacher. Well, she'd come through there the paddle the whole time.
Oh,
She
yeah.
just wear us out, not even tell you. She just wow. Man,
Bend
yeah,
over.
Yeah, Miss White, that was her name. God, she was mean.
Yeah, put your head between your knees and put your head
Yeah.
against the wall on your knees.
Oh, it
You're
never
supposed to
failed.
sit there.
One person would fart.
That's what I was going to say. Somebody always
was
made a
farting.
Now
fart
we can't
noise, and everybody got tickled, and we was all in trouble.
All in trouble.
Let's practice that. See if we still do it.
No hallway. Well, we had to do under the desk under the desk was the
Earthquake.
drill. Like that's gonna.
I couldn't put my head against the wall on my knees that long. I'm going to have to stop and take a breath.
I'm gonna need an inhaler.
Reposition.
Yeah.
I do breathing exercises before we do
I
that.
don't know. I guess that's all they had, but they don't do that anymore. I asked Michael. I was like, man, y'all get out in the hall. No, we don't ever do that. So I guess that's what they do.
Had fire drills, earthquake drills, and tornado
Did all
drills.
that.
But anyways, back to
Anyway,
hunting.
Yeah, back to hunting. So this week it was my turn to come up with some topics to talk about, and I know we've been on. Last week Jamie talked about the spring, how important that is to be hunting land, what you can do. We've been talking about our food plots and all that stuff. We've never really spent a lot of time on the equipment that we started with,
Yeah.
that we have now, that we've kind of accumulated over doing this for a few years, and then stuff that we'd like to have in the future that we know we need, and that we just kind of dream list type stuff. But I thought we'd also talk about some basics, like you got to start somewhere. So there's ATV type implements, things like that, and we'll just kind of take it by each person when we think about we'll jump in and see what we can come up with today for maybe to help some people out on if they're thinking about equipment or what they might need to do some work on your hunting land.
Right up my alley.
Sound like I know you specialize in the heavy machinery part. Jamie, you're an operator. Mikey, you're an operator, and I'm kind of the novice. So
I'm a driver. I ain't gonna say I'm an operator. I can move it.
Mark's not an operator.
he's not an operator.
Not operator.
No.
But that's what we're going to talk about today. And before we do that, we like to talk about any hunting and fishing we've done. I know it's we're still turkey season's wide open. They ought to be getting right. Deer season, we're kind of it ain't time for the fawn to start dropping yet, but we're still seeing a lot of activity on our cameras, and deers are still moving around.
Yeah, everything's kind of greened up, so you see a lot more deer like back in herds.
Yeah, I've noticed that too on cameras. They're back to, and when you see them, they're moving back in groups and stuff. So
Turkey hunting's been slow for everybody.
it for everybody it had, but I think our weather's been so screwed up.
It has.
I mean, we've there hadn't been just too many bluebird days.
It's been cold.
Yeah, we've had cold weather, we've had snow, we've had storms, we've just had nasty, crappy days. Lots of wind, more wind.
Yeah.
March has been pretty rough for us. I mean, not temperature wise, it hasn't been just super cold, but it's just been bad weather.
I know. I wish I'd have had a shotgun with me last weekend.
What'd you say?
We'd have got that bird.
So you went up to Indiana and
Yeah.
hang out with some buddies, didn't you?
Yeah, we went up there and cooked, and heck, we got up. I guess it was Friday morning. Yeah, Friday morning, and we were out there fooling with the smoker, and I closed the door on the firebox, and it closed pretty loud, right across the field. And I looked at Jay, I was like, "Is that a turkey?" We sitting there, and he gobbled again. Every time we closed the door on that smoker, that turkey gobbled, and he done it for probably 30 minutes. I mean, just nonstop.
He was begging y'all to come chase in.
And I was like, "Is turkey season open yet?" He's like, "No." I guess their season a lot later than us because I guess they don't have that warm spell. Their spring's behind us. So
They still have snow, don't they?
yeah, it snowed Saturday and was up there.
Wow.
It was cold, 20 degrees, snow, 40-mile-an-hour winds.
Did you see turkeys in fields, or you just heard them?
We just heard them. We seen a bunch of deer, but no turkeys.
Did you get out and about this weekend, Joe?
Earlier than I wanted, my dad went turkey hunting. I guess it was Wednesday or Thursday last week. And, well, he pretty much got his truck stuck before he went turkey hunting. So
On the way in?
Yeah, I'm getting out of the shower to go get him out that morning, but no, I hadn't been.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody's killed a turkey.
Darren's boy Chase has killed one.
they could kill two, didn't
It might have to.
They're hunting on the other side of the levee, though. They don't.
No.
there's
No,
Mississippi
one of them
still.
was in Como, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That ain't even fair.
He had the lowdown on one of them because there was a buddy that was taking care of a guy they knew that was taking care of some other property that they had rights to hunt. And the guy told him, man, there's nobody hunts turkeys at the house. You got to just come on out there. It wasn't within 30 minutes. Darren said he had one on the ground since he went out there.
He is pretty dedicated on his hunting for sure.
That's what, we was in Indiana. A lot of them guys up there said the turkeys, they're like, I guess not a lot of people hunt them up there. I don't really know, but he says they use decoys. They can use the little deals you walk behind. It looks like a turkey. He says they don't pay no attention to human. He said it's not near as hard. He says he's hunted there, he's hunted Texas, and he's hunted, I think, Tennessee. And he says Tennessee and South, hands down, the hardest turkey hunting he's ever
I've
done.
heard that.
That's
And
what
there's-
Darren-
was.
They're
Darren
still
said
hunting
now.
Easterns up there, but
Yeah.
I guess they just, you see those videos where those guys have the umbrellas and they walking up on
Walk
them,
right
shooting
up to
point
them.
blank.
No, you ain't going to do that to no
Y'all
Mississippi
ever
turkey.
tried that?
No. I
I'd be scared somebody would see me doing it.
I just never had I don't know. They're so skittish. I've never wanted to try to do that, and
Yeah.
I'd rather just sit there and call them.
Sit
instead of
still and try to get
Let's
them
get
to come
one
in.
on the ground, and then we'll try it.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't want to blow a chance.
You
at
could have
one.
practiced that on that old tame turkey you had. Did you have a wild tame one?
Man, I bought that thing down at Trade Days. That was the worst mistake I ever had. My wife had a black car, and them things are so aggressive against another male turkey. Well, y'all seen them fight on TV.
Yeah.
They're no joke. He tore that car. He could see his
He's full
reflection
grown?
in the car.
He's full grown?
Full grown. Earl was his name.
Was you working on like a live decoy or
Well-
it's just going to be?
I like turkeys. So,
Yeah.
you get up in the morning, you walk out there and you go to messing with him. He's gobbling and strutting
Yeah.
around the yard. I like watching him, but he would never roost where I wanted him to. He always roost on the freaking porch and crapped all over the porch.
Who wants to roost in a tree when you got a perfectly good porch right there?
It's
I
sit
was
on the
fine
rail.
with him on the porch. He was sitting on the railing, but he always had his ass pointed to the porch. He wouldn't point towards the flower bed. So I'd go out there and turn him around, and the next morning he'd be turned the other way. I'm like, good Lord.
What was you feeding him?
Just chicken feed.
yeah.
Yeah, he was eating. I mean, you really didn't have to feed him. He'd eat grasshoppers and stuff out of the.
He'd stay around the house. You didn't have to keep him pinned up.
No,
Yeah.
not until I run him off.
Yeah. So what did he do? What was the last straw?
He was getting in the kids' playhouse. They had one of these little playhouses we got from Lowe's that you put together, 4x4 posts and all that. Had
Yeah.
slide and little rope ladder going up to it. Well, he got up in the clubhouse part of it, and that's where he wanted to roost it. Same thing, crapping right in the middle of the clubhouse. So I snuck down there on him and caught him by the legs, and I grabbed him when I walked. If you ever grabbed a live turkey and you only catch
Best
him
hold
by
on.
1 foot, yeah, he took off with me.
Yeah.
So I
So
finally
you
got
were
him.
up in the clubhouse trying to get him out?
No, the kids were distracting him, so I
Oh.
snuck up on him.
Yeah.
I come in from
turkey hunting
I come in
kids.
from where he wasn't looking at.
Yeah.
Like, he was.
You
I had
grabbed
to-
him.
Yeah, I grabbed him.
Then what'd he do?
Man, he went nuts. He went to flapping and spurting me. I was trying to
love
hold
if
him
we had
down,
that on video, Tyler.
but I got
days
him.
You
It's
tried
coming
to
up.
hold on. Did you throw him in a bag or something? Or
No, I just got him by both feet.
Yeah.
Just kind of held him on the ground. And I took him down there, throwed him in the chicken house, and I left him there for a couple of weeks. Didn't let him
didn't
out.
calm him down?
Mm-mm. Well, he'd come back out, and then he'd go back in, and then he'd be right back to another roost spot.
Yeah.
When I caught him on the porch the last time, I hit him with a broom, knocked him off the porch. He never came back.
he
He was
gonna-
mad.
He went wild, huh?
Yeah, he went wild. Somebody called me one day and said, man, I seen Earl down here at the four-way stop, standing at the four-way stop.
He had a sign out.
That might have been that one daddy got. It's a good possibility.
He was down at the stop sign. Hitchhiking.
I was like, leave him down there. I don't want him back.
Was it
That's-
a white turkey
that's
or regular turkey?
Yeah.
Those are wild. He's
Full blown.
black
Did he ever
turkey.
blow up? Like fan out and everything out in the yard?
Yeah, the beard and everything. I don't know if that was legal to buy him or not. They had him down at trade day, so
Man,
I'm sure
you can
that
buy
somebody.
anything. You can buy anything down there.
Camel, whatever you want.
I saw a dude the other day. He was walking back to the car, had a goat under each arm. He done got him 2 goats at trade days.
They probably won't see it Monday.
No, he's probably gonna eat. I don't know. They're little, so he probably was
Yeah.
gonna raise them a little bit.
Yeah.
Did he mess with the car?
Man, he tore the car to pieces. I mean, he scratched it up bad.
Trying to fight
every day he would go. If his son was hitting it just right where he could see his reflection, he would tear. I mean, he'd scratch her car up.
We had a white one. Mom and Daddy got us when trade day was a kid, and we didn't have no dogs, no nothing come up in the yard. It'd run a dog off.
My uncle had one. He had a big white one like that, but it had I remember the old big wheels that you had as a kid. It had those red handlebars on it.
Yep.
Well, it set out in his yard, and you turn that handle on it, and it looked like a big long neck of a bird, I guess. And that turkey, he thought it was his buddy, so he would guard around that thing. And he would, as a kid, they would not let us get near that big wheel. He would go to whooping and chasing us if we got after it. So I never did like them.
Y'all didn't aggravate him, did you?
No, we didn't. We run from him. Between a turkey that's mad and a rooster, man,
Rooster be whooping you down.
oh heck yeah.
Oh, I got so tickled. I guess it was last year. I had to get a new dishwasher, and we ordered it, and the delivery crew was on the way. So he called me. He said, "Man, I think I'm at your house." He said, "But man, there's 20 or 30 turkeys in your yard." And I was like, "Turkeys? What?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I can't even get out." He said, "Man, there's turkeys everywhere. I'm scared to get out, you know." I got thinking they were Daddy's guineas, and they were at Jamie's house. And they done
micro
yeah.
turkey.
He said, "Man, I ain't never seen no turkey look like this, you know." And I said,
He
"All
knew
right."
it wasn't a chicken.
Yeah, he knew it wasn't chicken.
Had to be a young turkey. Huh?
And he got out. I never told him no different. I told him, I said, "Go to the next drive." And
Those are turkeys.
yeah,
Man.
turkeys.
Turkeys.
He got out. He said, "Man," he says, "my daddy was turkey hunting." He said, "He'd have a fit over there." I said, "Man, them are guineas." He said, "I ain't never heard of guineas. Them are turkeys."
Y'all ever ate a guinea?
I hadn't.
I wonder if they're any good.
Yeah, Daddy had.
I've ate their eggs.
Yeah,
Eggs are real good.
They're a little bit, I guess, a little bit stronger than regular chicken egg, but
He gave us. I guess he gave us some. That's what there's a whole dozen of them little eggs. I guess
4 in each regular egg hole.
Yeah. They're
Oh,
pretty
they're
good. Though. So, Mikey, what's been going on at the farm, man? You've been down there doing some stuff. We had some stand removal or something.
Yeah, the previous owner left his stands down there. So he's been trying to get those out. I mean, he can't really do nothing else right now. We've had so much rain, you know.
Yeah.
It's just the roads are nasty, and Jamie had fixed some of the roads, you know, getting the water off the roads, keeping them where they'll dry up a lot faster because we're holding water. But yeah, moving those stands, good Lord, that's a feat.
Well, those stands there were built like a tank, and then turn around head.
top heavy.
They must have been. So they're built out of this. I don't know what we determined it was. Some kind of metal
Unistrut is
C-channel looking.
C-channel, yeah, it looks like Unistrut, a big Unistrut with holes in it. You know,
The top is a 300-gallon water tank cage.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's what it is. No, it's still got the floor in it.
And it looks like it's got a belt, like a
conveyor
belt material around it. That's what kind of they use for the sides. I don't know what's on the top. Just part of the tank.
it was a conveyor belt.
Yeah, conveyor belt too.
Top too.
It looked like they took the bottom out of a tank and then had like that tubular cage that goes around those big like chemical tanks, and that was the main frame of it. But they were nice stands.
There were some good stands, but I don't think they assembled them and took them back there and put them in. Like
I don't think so.
because I mean that metal, if you don't have it standing up, it's not rigid enough to move really.
No, because I leaned some of them down, and I mean I didn't do this on purpose. It just happened. You know, trying to lay them down
over, yeah.
and the leg would buckle on it. Well, when it buckled, it would just, you know, it come off the forks of the tractor, and it was gone, you know, and it hit the ground. Top come off of one of them, buckled the leg on another one, and
Ain't no telling how long they've been there, though. That's another thing.
Vines, everything, trees was growing.
Oh, yeah, it was 2 sweet gum trees that's still attached to one of the stands. It had grown into it.
One of them, buzzards roosted in. It's like,
oh, man, I didn't want to touch that. I got in that nasty thing one time this year.
Was it worse than
it was full of buzzard crap.
turkey tree house?
Man, it was bad. I didn't want to touch nothing.
Earl is back.
Earl's back.
It was bad.
How'd the pellets do? We got some fertilizer pellets for the trees I ordered last week.
I saw those come in.
Yeah, so those trees that we planted down there, he found some fertilizer pellets to put down next to them. Instead of just throwing granular fertilizer out on them several times a year, this is a slow-release fertilizer pellet.
Supposed to last 3 years, I think is what it is.
Put it in ground, or you throw it on the
stick
ground?
it in the ground. Yeah.
Is that what you did?
Yeah, so we took the Mark's drill with that auger bit that we were using to make those dirt hole sets with coyotes, and I just walked down through it. It's long enough you just stick it down beside you and drill a hole in the ground 4 or 5 inches and drop it in and kick the dirt back on it, keep walking.
It's like one pellet per tree or something.
That's all I put in there. Yeah, it was one pellet.
I think it's pretty potent. Like you can buy different ratios just like you do fertilizer. So like you can buy that's got 30% of this or 50% of this, but it's supposed to be the nutrients to last 3 years. And then you can come back and put it in again 3 years. So
that is
we shouldn't have to touch it. I mean, it was a box of 1,000.
Man, I don't know. It was a bunch.
So as long as we keep them dry, we got some to use again.
Did you just put one by all the trees y'all set out? So it was
Yeah.
several hundred that you did then.
Yeah, it was one by every tree. I mean,
At 3 years, what can y'all expect the height of those little saplings to be that would be set out?
6 foot maybe.
yeah,
They grow that much in 3 years?
Yeah, they'll get up.
If
over
it don't,
your
we'll
head.
put another pellet beside it. We'll see if we can get them. Speed them
It's
up.
been Miracle Grow pellets.
And then we've said this before. It depends on the dirt they're in, because like even when I was running that drill, like we got on top of the ridge, that dirt was compacted and hard, and
More clay.
the drill would hang up,
Yeah.
and then you get down close to the bottom, it was more loose dirt, and I could drill down in the ground as far as that auger would reach.
Yeah.
But on top, it was a lot rougher. So you probably see a difference in those trees from top of the hill to the bottom of the hill.
I'll tell you what, I was impressed with the way those food plots were looking.
Yeah, they look good.
You took pictures of, I don't know if we shared any of that, if we got any of those pictures out there, but our plots had been hammered
Yep.
coming out of winter, and that was the only thing for deer to eat or anything to eat down there. And they were looking like they were finish mode. Like, they were short, but now everything's up knee high, it looked like.
Yeah.
A lot of
Weeds coming up
places.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's gonna be some green to roll here in a little bit.
Yeah, I
The
didn't.
summer plots.
Well, I guess 2-3 weeks ago when we went down there, me and Mark was down there for something, and it still kind of looked like you'd run the lawnmower over it up, set the deck up on high and run it up. They were all just clipped off. And then I guess since the weather's changed and everything started greening up, there's more, wild stuff for them to start nipping off and eating. And plus, I guess the ground's gotten warmer, the dirt's gotten warmer, so those crops have taken off.
Stuff's starting to bud out.
Yeah, so that buffalo system that we're going to do, those fields they're anywhere from about halfway up your leg to almost a knee high. And that happened in 2 weeks. They were down, a couple of inches is all they were.
We still have, I guess Easter's kind of the goal, the 3 weeks.
Yeah, Good
We're looking
Friday.
at planting. We are going to order seeds this week, hopefully.
I'm gonna try to get down there Friday, get Jamie's tractor and that little bush hog around all them trees and get it maintained close to them to where they stick out a little better. We weeded 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
So we get it bush hogged and cut and maintain it right around those trees. It should help a lot.
Yeah, it's hard to see them now because most of those we flagged all of them, and that's one thing too is you flag those trees where you can see them, but wind will.
No, darn field mice eating the ribbon.
Flag? Really?
Yeah. Everyone we tied, as far as they could get up and reach, they were chewed off. Like they was eating the ribbon. There would be little tore pieces around the tree.
Let's make a nest with it or something.
We're gonna find a bunch of pink houses out there
Yeah.
next year.
That's all right.
Wasn't that a John Cougar Mellencamp song?
Little pink houses.
Little pink houses.
Yeah. So, Jamie, what we talked about last week?
I kind of covered about all your springtime chores. About getting out there and keeping up stuff during the spring after deer season, and just like I say, getting everything ready for summertime.
That's important. That's what that whole thing was about. Why you got to do that?
I enjoyed it. This has been a fun start of the year, I guess you'd say. I've enjoyed going down there working it and shed hunting, and I guess we're about done shed hunting. I guess.
Yeah.
It's time to start getting some bass out of some ponds now.
Man, you ain't kidding. Every time I ride by one of them things, you see them darting off the bank now.
Yeah.
So they're getting right.
That's on my goal. Catch some fish.
we still got to do our cane pole fishing tournament.
That's it.
Yeah, we didn't make that one last year. We were supposed to have done it last year.
It might happen this weekend. I don't know what the weather's going to be like.
I got to go to a wedding this weekend.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Dang it.
You can't do the tournament without me.
Yeah.
Dang wedding. I told you about the TikTok or the video I seen of the girl shed hunting elk antlers and found it.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that was freaking awesome. Like, she pulled up a shed of a elk big as this table. It was huge, and she had 2 of them on her backpack, and that's all she could do to tote them out. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, just going and finding them, those big 5x5
Yeah.
set laid out there.
Like, you can see that for hundreds of yards.
You would think you could. What was the terrain like? Was it just mountain?
No, it was rough looking. Like, she was crawling over logs. That's what was so funny is she put the 2 sheds on her backpack, and it went to crawl over a log, and I guess she was top heavy then, and over she went head first,
We need to get somebody on here to talk about elk hunting. I mean, you talk about packing one out. If you've ever had to kill one and then quarter it, and then it probably takes two, 3 people to pack one out.
We're spoiled. We can't get most of them places. You ain't getting a Can-Am.
They don't let them. I don't think a lot of that government land you can't take motorized stuff in there.
Your horseback be about the only extra help you could have.
Man, we're gonna have to get some mules if we go.
Something like Meat Eater's got them alpacas or whatever he uses.
We're gonna make 100 yards. Everybody's gonna be holding their side. I'm about to throw
got a
up.
little oxygen tank. No, it ain't for me.
We're going to Colorado.
I'd have to go to weight loss programs to train to do one of those.
Mark's going to see what the breathing's like in Colorado.
We're going in July.
Do y'all see elk where y'all are going riding?
We seen
the place we're going to this year. We're supposed to.
Yeah, where we was at 2 years ago, we seen cow moose and then some timber wolves, and that's something that's pretty big too. It's a whole lot bigger.
Yeah, you don't realize how big a wolf is.
Yeah,
I want to say right down from where we're staying is a reserve. I think right up, and that's actually one of the places we're riding is like an elk reserve.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see that. I've never seen one in the wild.
I've seen them up in Utah. I've seen a moose on the side
moose
of the
is
road
unreal.
up there.
I mean,
You don't realize that's a big animal.
That's a monster.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot bigger than a horse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. From its shoulder to the ground, dude, 9 foot sometimes. That's a big animal.
Pack
It's
one
all
of them out.
leg. Yeah. They weren't finding moose sheds, right?
No, that's another thing. I mean, they got to drop them. So I mean,
Got to. I guess
You would
they
think
dropped the moose shed their antlers like.
yeah.
But
I'm
I
assuming
mean,
they do.
the terrain there, ain't nobody just flying in to go.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, as big as that is, a squirrel's not going to pick up and run off with it. A dog, like, you ain't going to have a lab trained to bring one of them back,
A bunch of them around
I would
there.
imagine small animals probably
Chew on them.
chew them, eat them up.
Yeah.
Pretty quick.
I don't know. I mean, moose that big in Alaska. I imagine Alaskan squirrel's probably big as a lab here. So, I mean,
Alaskan squirrel. I don't know if that is such a thing.
Alaskan
it's got to be bigger. Got to be.
size of a beaver.
Yeah.
They
You shoot
climb
them with
trees.
the 22 Magnum at least.
Well, I figured today we'd get into our main topic. We wanted to talk about some of the equipment that we started with. I know we've been spending a lot of time on, working the land and doing what we do, but you got to have tools and proper equipment to do some of that. And so we started out, I didn't have a tractor or anything. I had a few things that me and my brother had up at my dad's little farm that we had used. And that's the only experience I had. But Jamie, you had the first, you brought the tractor. You've had your tractor a while and had some experience taking care of one of the hunting clubs over on the island over in Tunica. So you want to talk about what we used first?
To start with, I just got a 45 horse tractor with a 6 foot bush hog. When you bought the first section wasn't that bad going down there bush hogging, but that other 50 acres of hayfield
was too
6 foot at a time. That didn't cut it. But
yours was great to knock out just the food plots,
right,
Yeah.
and then to keep the trails.
It's
manageable.
maneuverable. That's one good thing about Jamie's tractor. It's small, compact. Man, you can get in and out. Go bush hogging around with trees is perfect.
You almost need to. You need one that size that's maneuverable and to move stuff around, and then you need your bigger one to do the the larger areas. We used yours like the first time I bought the land. Luckily, had a friend that was doing some work down there on another piece of property, and he was putting in food plots. So he come and used the heavy disc and broke ours up because we didn't have any braking equipment.
No,
First, all we had was the bush hog. And I think he broke, and we hand sew everything. I think that year we went down there
we
with
hand sewed it.
But we used the Cosmo. You had the Cosmo then.
we had one up at my dad's, but I don't know if we went and got it for
I think the
first.
first time we done hand
We bought bags. We bought those bags from the co-op, and we'd pour the seeds.
The mixes that wouldn't grow.
Yeah, co-op mix.
The sterile seeds.
And then for fertilizer, we rented a buggy.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of times. I had that on here to talk about. If you don't own the equipment, there's places that you can borrow or
your
or
county
pay for. Yeah, your county, use your extension office.
Yeah.
They actually have seed drills, our county extension office.
Yeah, they do.
Now, it's hard to get come planting time. You got to plan on when you're going to get it because everybody wants to use it. But those are great resources. And then also the co-op, you can get a fertilizer buggy. You can get a lime buggy. And I remember we went and got it with your truck the first time, and we pulled it. It was set up to where you could pull it with a truck around there as long as you do it on dry ground.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're not that expensive to rent it now. What you put in it is expensive.
Yeah.
but
Definitely this year it is.
Yeah,
First
no doubt.
time we tried pulling that buggy with your tractor. Remember what it did on that hill?
It was fine going downhill, not so much going uphill. It weighed more than my tractor.
Had it set straight up doing wheelies. we ended up backing it down, having to hook the truck up to pull it back up the hill.
It wasn't for a good effort. The tractor tried.
Yeah, it was giving it all it had. It was just too much weight.
Don't weigh 4,000 pounds, probably.
Yeah.
Well, too, like when I was a kid, I killed my first deer behind the house on a food plot I planted. And it was actually Jamie's hunting stand. And then all we used, it was my great granddaddy's, I don't know what, I guess it was a Cub disc, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cub Farm All tractor.
It was like a 4-foot disc, and you could unpin it in the middle and use just the front roll of the disc and not the back. And we'd pull it with the 4-wheeler, you know. But there's plenty of options out there getting started for sure. But it done fine. You just had to make a bunch of passes, you know, get the ground broke and get it broke up good. And again, hand sow it, put fertilizer on it, let it grow, you know.
And they've got a lot of implements that work on side-by-sides or 4-wheelers. A lot of, smaller places, those things are great.
Yeah.
Some places you can't get a tractor in.
The pull-behind bush hog through 4-wheeler's got its separate little gas engine. I've heard great things about it people use. You know, they got some, I think one's like a actual grass cutting and one's kind of a small brush hog that'll cut, you know, small things, but it still does good. We never had one, but I've always wanted to try it.
The one that we used a lot was a cultipacker, and it would prep the ground. Like after you got it broke up, you need to get the seed bed right. So we'd hit it with that, and it takes a lot of passes, and it's got to be pulled with something small because I think it's only what
3 foot.
5
It ain't wide. No, it ain't no 5 foot.
48 inches, I believe. But it goes behind it hooks on the regular ball hitch, and it makes a good seed bed. But I don't think we've used it since.
No, we used it one year at your place, I know.
Yeah. It makes a great seed bed, and you can come back over it, sow, and then drag in, and you're good to go. But we stepped up to a bigger tractor, and that was, what is it, a 5100 series?
Yeah,
John Deere?
5100, 100 horse.
Yeah. It's still considered a small tractor.
Yeah.
But it's got a cab.
It's stout.
Yeah.
It's strong.
I mean, I don't see us needing one too much bigger than that, do y'all?
No, I don't.
That's been a good tractor.
But we bought with it. It allowed us to get a bigger cutter. So what we get, a bat wing, and what is it all extended out? It's 12 foot, which allows you to cut the hay fields, knock out bigger spaces. But we also got the tiller with it.
Yeah.
And so the next season, instead of breaking the ground with a big heavy disc, we tilled most of it. Mm-hmm. And that did a fantastic job, especially when you had new food plots going in. It's hard to drill into ground that hadn't been, done anything to.
Yeah.
Basically hayfield.
Yeah, the hayfields, all that ground's been compacted for so many years.
And we noticed that because we borrowed a seeder from someone, and we were trying. He said, "Man, just go to it. Get your seed rate right and go to putting it in the ground. You don't have to do anything." Well, it didn't work as good on ground that hadn't had anything done to it, but on the plots that we had tilled previously, done fantastic. And so we ran that tiller for a while. We still got it, but we don't use it as much anymore unless you're going to cut in something new, I guess.
The tiller does great. It's a one-pass item most of the time. It's just slow. I mean, it seems like it's slow, but you got to think, how many passes would you have to do with a 6 or 8 foot disc, to break it up to that consistency? Because, it turned it to powder. It breaks it up good. The only downfall of tiller is if you got a tree root system that runs out there in that field, you will find it.
Yeah.
It's like hitting a rocket booster when that tiller hits it. But
and we tore up one of the tillers.
Yeah, that's exactly we. I was not operating that day. No.
I don't think that was a we.
What'd they tell us at John Deere? I'd never seen anybody do that to one.
Nope. No. And John and them at the John Deere dealership, man, they try and true everything. If it holds up to them, it's tough. And he said,
I think it was just a bad bearing. One of them needles was a Japanese bearing, is all it is.
That's all it was. We got that fixed. They fixed.
They put a brand new one under it.
Yeah, they took care of it. John Deere definitely fixed it.
Mark hadn't been on it in a while, so it's working.
I ran it last year. Thank you.
But now we're looking at, since we're not wanting to break ground now.
Oh.
We've kind of got some established plots, and the whole goal is to not let that moisture out of the soil, not turn it all the way to where it's waking up that dormant seed, weed seed bed that's in there, or letting all your moisture out to where it goes to sand. It wants to break up. So we're going to try that buffalo system where we actually lay down a thatch on top of it, and it kind of creates that like a mulching effect. It's the best way I know to describe it, where it just breaks down.
Throwing hay down, in the garden when you plant tomato plants or something, more or less.
I mean, it's all totally new. I know hardly anything about that, and most people I've talked to,
It's
don't.
It's
know
not a
much.
conventional way of farming. That's what. But I mean, the reason being, I guess, people are used to breaking ground, having all the heavy tillage equipment, spraying, buying chemicals, having to buy fertilizer, and you're getting to eliminate all that money that you're spending by doing it this way. And it's not going to look as pretty.
No, it takes
This will
time
take-
too. That's the thing
Yeah.
with the farmer is they don't want to fool
Right.
with it because they're going to lose their crop that first year.
Yeah,
It's not going
it's to the third and fourth year before you start
Yeah,
seeing
third,
reap
yeah.
benefits, right?
third and fourth year before you start getting back to where your crop is, producing exactly what it was doing when you was throwing fertilizer and lime and, spraying with chemicals and all that stuff. It takes a couple of years, and most people ain't got the patience or the money to on a
Spend
big
on that.
farming system,
Yeah.
to be able to do that. We can do it, we're not.
It's our hobby.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
Yeah.
a hobby.
Yeah. We're
This
not
is more like trial and
Yeah.
error for us. See if it works. If it don't work, we'll do something
go back to
different.
something. We'll go back to breaking the ground.
Well,
But,
too,
I mean, you look as much as diesel fuel and fertilizer and chemicals are now. I mean, we all might be going to it.
Yeah, no joke. That was what got me to thinking about it. Is you can't. I mean, Roundup, it's went up so much. Just buying regular chemicals, 13, a bag of 13 is going to cost you 3 or 4 times if you can find it. What it was last year,
Well, too, once you get it somewhat established, a lot of that stuff that's not appealing to the eye is stuff that the animal's going to eat anyway. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you're bringing a lot of those native grasses back. And, yeah, it's not going to look pretty. It's not going to be a perfectly carpeted clover field, but it's still good nutrition for the deer, for the turkeys, for anything that's out there.
I think we're making a buffet for them.
Yeah. And then you got cover for your smaller animals, too,
Yeah, and it's going to help with a lot of erosion. That was a big kicker to me on it. Was when you break that ground, you turn it, you break it up, and you might have 6 to 8 inches of broke up ground that's letting water permeate. But after that, it's not filtrating any water. When you start doing this way and you're building that compost on top of it every time, and the dirt starts getting real spongy, it'll uptake all the water.
Yeah.
You don't have the runoff. You're not going to have pooling like we do now. It's gonna turn into a sponge and just make stuff. It's gonna thrive. It's gonna create that earthworm habitat. It's gonna create all the insects and stuff that you want in the ground that's beneficial. All those will be there. It's gonna be like a living thing. The crop will.
Pretty much putting topsoil back.
That's all you're
Yeah.
doing. You're building it
You're
back.
creating your own
Yep.
topsoil, your own little.
It'll end up being layer
environment.
after layer after layer of it. when
Well,
you
one
dig
of
it.
the
That's
biggest-
going to be interesting. We need to do that, like dig up some and look at what it looks now compared to what it's going to look year after year.
Yeah.
You
Take
just get
pictures.
Pull like a core sample and put it like in a big mason jar.
Yeah, to where you can see
it
yeah,
now
yeah.
and then
We've got
next
that.
year.
Yeah, that'll pull a
We've
core
got
out.
that little core shovel or whatever that we use planting trees. You can push it down in there and then save it. Put
Yeah.
it in something.
Put it in a mason jar.
You can see how deep how deep your topsoil went, at least for 8 inches anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, too, one of the, talking about breaking the ground, one of the biggest things we fight every time planting is either you're not going to get that good, slow, steady rain that you want. You're going to get that gully washer, washes your seed off. It washes the field out. Any field we have this low line, look at mud hole, look at Trump.
Yep.
And if you break that ground up and it comes a 2 or 3 inch rain, you just put a creek down the middle of your field. It's going to wash out.
That's
and
right.
This should help a lot with that.
You can tell a difference now, like walking from down there by South Trump, where we're talking about, where we put this buffalo system on the left hand side of the road, is conventional farming practices. We tilled it, we sowed it, we fertilized it, we done all that, and then on the right side, we planted that winter crop. Me and Jamie went down
Yeah.
there and planted that. We didn't have the drill, but we used that food plot seeder. Just turn the spike straight with it and let it run down through there, and you can step in that field and tell the difference after it's rained from one side to the other right now.
Just because it wasn't broke.
Because there's so many plants and
Yeah,
so much
yeah.
stuff out there just taking up
Taking
that
moisture.
water. Yeah,
Yeah, when you-
that other side is just
It's rotten.
Rotten.
And when he first did that, he was like, "Man, I don't know if it's going to work or not." 'Cause it looked crazy drilling into that or
Yeah.
seeding into it.
That's what Jamie said. He was like, "Mike, I don't know about this. I don't think it's going to work." I was like, "Well,
But
we're
if you
gonna
look
try
at it now, did you see those pictures that Mikey took last week?
I
too?
hadn't seen the pictures yet.
It looks fantastic. I mean, it really does. It looks.
It's only going to get
some
better.
plots we got.
But
Now
if
we
you,
just got to find the crimper itself.
yeah,
We got it. Yeah. Chuck, we kind of worked out a deal where he's going to use it, and then we're going to use it for what we do, and then he's got a new drill too, which is one thing. So we bought after we had the cultipacker and the tiller, the next implement we bought was that seeder, and it was because we borrowed one from from the John Deere people, and they told us, like, if you're planting clover or if you're doing your grains, this is what you want. And it works really good for that.
Right.
It does.
But it don't drill. It don't
Don't
get
put
you
the seed
in, yeah.
technically in the ground.
So it's not a true drill. It's made for seeding. It's like if you're doing pastures and you want to overseed pastures or you want to make clover plots, it's great for that. But
Pretty much the only thing it don't do very well is corn because of the
Yeah,
odd-shaped seed. But
and sunflower was a little. I mean, it was
Sunflowers
It
will
was a little
struggle with
odd because of their shape
They're never the
too.
same size.
Yeah. But so this year we're going to roll, and then we're going to drill with a real drill and see how that goes. But we also, part of what we were doing was spraying, and it wasn't just, killing the crops or whatever, because we did do that. We're not going to do that anymore, but we still spray for weed control, trail control, and all that. And Jamie, what you rigged up?
yes,
Where do we get first? What did we have? Do you remember?
first one was a small one I had, and then we ended up getting Tri-County.
It's
here
a
in
100
town.
gallon or
60. I think it's a 60 gallon. It goes in the bed of your side by side, and it's got a wand plus a boom sprayer on it.
yeah, and it does okay.
Yeah,
It just-
yeah. Small food plots is fine. A bigger food plot, because it's got the 12-volt pump and it cycles on and off, it don't keep up a good steady pressure like a PTO driven one would. But I mean, for side by side small food plots, it does.
When you
good.
start spraying acres, you don't realize how much chemical you're running through.
Yeah,
I mean, that was the thing when we sprayed with it. We were lucky enough to have a farmer local to us. Miles let us come borrow one of his big tubs where we could just refill and go. But you still, I mean, heck, we filled that thing up 5 or 6 times. So
This year, me and Melissa went down and sprayed a bunch this year by ourselves, and it was half a day because we
Just
had to.
spray it?
I'd spray that 60 gallons out, run back up to the farm, back up to the shed and refill and come back down there
So
and start
for
spraying again.
size of what we had to work with, what would y'all say would be the size gallon?
200.
Right?
Probably 200. You can put that on back of the tractor.
a gallon an acre. That's what you figure. Yeah.
Really? I mean, is that?
I mean,
true?
that would be close. I mean, if you're saying
Yeah.
200, that's
At Hardin Point, that's what we have. I think it was a 16 or 18 foot boom with 250 gallon tank, and it'd go pretty good ways.
So that was a big thing with us when we first started. We didn't have any running water.
Yeah,
a
I
lot
was
of people
finna
probably
say,
don't.
Yeah,
a lot of your hunting lands ain't going to have
yeah.
running water.
Yeah,
So-
I was filling everything up at the house plus bringing jugs and doing
Yeah,
it
trying to
down
do it
there.
with a 65 gallon.
I mean, I'm sure they do, but I mean, do they make a pelletized, weed preventative?
I mean, they
They
got
do,
pre-emergence,
probably.
but I don't know how.
Because, I mean, you're going to run into that situation to where, like, a lot of your hunting lands are so secluded, there's not a gas
Water
station you go up
source.
there and say, hey, man, I'll throw you $20. Let me run your water hose, Or, that's something to think about is getting water there if you are going to spray.
Yeah,
And that's another reason this Buffalo system may work better for some people than
because
others.
you're trying to choke out those.
I really
weeds.
want us to document this pretty good because there's
Start
nothing
to
out
finish.
there. I mean, the only person I knew anything about is y'all talked about it, and then Kevin, we talked to him at Corps Engineers. He's pretty knowledgeable on it also. But other than that, everybody I talked to, like,
It's very rare. People I've talked to, it's very rare in the South.
right.
It's more common in the Northeast. There's a lot of these farms that are I don't know if you call them organic farms, or they're trying to do a less carbon footprint on the planet, because you got to think you're not making those passes over it with the tractors many times, and so that's why it's beneficial to people. So yeah, they might be losing some money on what they're growing, but they're in maintenance, operational cost, all that, you gain that back, and it does take time. But it's something that a lot of the land. So a lot of those guys are smaller farmers up north. They're not doing the acreage that, say, people are doing in Delta and Mississippi, or these big farms that we have down in the South. And so I think that's why, and it's just not a conventional way of doing it. It's not a practice that's taught.
Well, everybody wants to see. I think Mark said this a minute ago. Everybody wants to see that pretty green, pristine
Yeah.
food plot. And when you do this, that's not what you got.
Natural habitat is not pretty and green.
No, it's not. It's not. And there's people doing it. You see people doing it in their lawns now. That's a thing. They're going back to a natural lawn instead of just trying to grow a Bermuda lawn. They're letting.
Man, I've had a natural lawn for a long time.
So
I was
you
gonna
had
say,
the
no,
curve,
natural.
Jamie. You had
I'm ahead of the game.
See, you ain't spending money on fertilizer and chemicals.
Yeah, I am now.
You want that
I'm
natural
going for the
look?
green yard.
But you can do.
It's
you can
better
do
for
this.
the environment to go natural. It really is.
It is.
And to let I'm not talking about native species is what you want.
Yeah.
You don't want these invasive species, all these weeds and things that aren't supposed to be there. And that's what we're trying to promote, is put something in the ground that we know is a good for the animals, but it also, if we're going to have weeds grow, we want those to be weeds that are usable. It's native stuff, and then anything invasive that we can get out of there, we're trying to. I mean, we're fighting Johnson grass. That was a problem last year. Deer mowed down our soybeans we put in, and then all we had was goat weed and Johnson grass come back.
Yeah, those wind-blown seeds are hard to keep out of your fields when you can't get something up to shade them out.
Yeah.
So even if you do got it up, I mean, Johnson grass is pretty resilient. I mean, it's
tough.
Yeah,
yeah,
What was
it's one of the hardest ones.
What was it Miles told us that was it Johnson grass, sagegrass is a dead, like, telltale that your pH is off. Sagegrass, wasn't it?
Probably.
Yeah,
Maybe,
probably
yeah.
so.
I think it was because he come up there and looked at it and he says, I can tell y'all need lime. Like, no doubt y'all need.
That's been every soil test we've done. I've never done a soil test where they didn't tell me I need lime on any property. I guess you just
Now, how does the buffalo eliminate that? Or does it?
Eventually.
Yeah, it brings the pH back.
At first, first year, you're still supposed to do normal practices. And then second year, you're supposed to cut it back by a certain percentage, like 75% of recommended lime and fertilizer. And then eventually it's 40%. Then eventually it's none by third year.
But your plants that you're utilizing they're putting
Things
elements back in the ground.
That's right. You're getting the decay, you're getting the breakdown, you're getting the castings off the worm habitat you're creating. All this things that you're doing for the soil is making that proactive environment that stuff wants to grow to where you don't need the lime, you don't need the extra boost of fertilizer. Because plants didn't. I mean, you think about how grasslands were, how back before man, what it was like, why they called it the buffalo system, because the buffalo roamed on it, and there wasn't fertilizer back then. It was just the natural stuff growing, and animals would tromp it down, and it would break. It wouldn't kill it. It would just break it over, and that's what we're simulating with that crimper.
Yeah.
Is the animals being on it, and it's letting that stuff break down, and those nutrients in those plants that are laid over go back into the soil. And that's why it's real important with that, where you don't roll it at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Because it's still got to have that moisture to it. You still got to, that's got to be in that plant. If you're just an old dead plant that's gone to seed, you're not gaining anything rolling that over.
But something else is that this can be done on a small scale.
Yeah,
and you can do this without the crimper.
You do your garden at home.
Yeah. So I watched several YouTube videos on guys doing it. I watched one last week, where it was just a father and a son, and they had like an acre food plot here and like an acre and a half one over here, and they had planted kind of the same thing we did, wheat, and there was some clover and stuff out there, and they took a drag, like a drag hair almost, and turned it over where the spikes went down.
Yeah.
And drug it upside down, and they just had a 4-wheeler and a rope, and they drug their field. Now, they had to run over it a couple of times to get it laid all the way down, but before that, they had went in there and sowed soybeans for their summer crop in that tall. I mean, it was
before they crimped.
Yeah, the son was videoing, and
Yeah.
the wheat was up to his neck.
So that was one thing I was going to talk about on there was the throw and mow. And that's for somebody that's got limited time, limited equipment, that's a great way to do it.
A rake, a weed eater, and a backpack sprayer.
Yeah,
I mean, you can do a lot.
That's right. I mean, you put your seeds out beforehand, and you go back, and most of the time they'll spray it, kill it, then bush hog it, and it covers it up. It's supposed to be simulating that. That's what the backpack sprayer's for.
But you can also do small scale food plots. We were talking about what we had used at first. I mean, I've used a tiller. Like
just a garden tiller,
tiller, like
Toro.
Drug it in with, I've drug it in before, and a little half-acre food plot or something. I mean, it's going to take you a while, but you get it done.
I've had good luck. I mean, I ain't saying I killed no deer off of it, but it looked good. Is turn around, go in there, rake the leaves back on the edge of the woods, and throw that no-till out.
There's who hadn't bought the throw and grow. Y'all remember that old seed you get? Walmart always had it. That stuff worked now.
You got to have soft ground.
85% of it was probably rye grass.
Yeah, grow
but
on
it
concrete.
would green. Yeah, it would come up and grow. It's better than nothing.
But it's a start,
Yeah. That's I've talking about ways to crimp. Have you seen them use those 2x4s? They'll take a 2x4, drill holes in each end of it, tie
guy
with
walking
rope.
with it. Yeah,
You'll take it and you'll use that step on that 2x4 and mash it down, and you do it the width of the 2x4. And that's how you're laying your field.
But
down
you want
when
it.
come back.
You want it to break the stem, but not kill the plant, right?
It's pretty much what it does because it's still a green plant.
It's still a green plant. You're just
Right.
crimping it over, but it's still a living plant.
Yeah, it's not gonna. I guess some of it does stand back up. 'Cause I've seen
it will.
some of them.
Well, I
but the
think the
majority of it-
crimper, that's the whole point of it. Like if you're just dragging a 2x4, yeah, you're going to have some come back up. But the way that crimper works, it actually tucks it
Breaks.
in under the ground and
Kinda, yeah.
holds it. It crimps it down to where it can't.
Yeah,
Pinches the stalks where no nutrients can go up to the top of the plant.
that's right. But it still has that moisture in the plant. That's what's holding it there is giving those new seeds time to get up, and it also prevents cover. So, when we're getting heavy browse, when we take a field down to dirt, we put seeds in it and everything starts popping. Well, the deer or the other animals jump on that. But when you got it crimped down, you still got some coverage there. They can't get to it. By that time, the plants, when it gets up over what's crimped, it's established and it's going to take off.
It's almost the same as if you've ever seen a farmer put down black plastic.
Yeah.
In fields, like they'll strip row
for watermelons.
For watermelon, for something
tomatoes.
So
I've seen them do it.
It's holding that moisture in there. It's protecting that plant from any kind of weeds getting in it. They can still till between the rows.
Yeah.
And keep the rows cleaned out. And it keeps the weeds out of their watermelons. Eventually they won't. They spread out. But this is kind of the same system. You're just laying a cover there. You're utilizing that to keep food on the ground for the deer year round. But at some point you roll it down. They still can graze it and utilize it, but by the time they get through with that other stuff is up high enough or started coming up. It's got to, jump started enough to where here you go, you got something else to eat now.
Yeah. Well, what other implements or machines or equipments do y'all see that you need getting started? I know we've used chainsaws, different things like that. Have y'all got any that when you're working on a property, you got to think about your trail system, all that? What else?
I tell you, when we weed eated around all them trees, I had just a steel weed eater, gas weed eater, nothing fancy. I bought one of the brush cutting heads for it with like a kind of the metal blades on it. Man, if you're using that away from your house, of course, because it gets a little crazy if it hits a tree or whatever. But I mean, it worked great, man. Sapling's big as your thumb or something like that. I mean, it'd knock it right down, and you ain't got to worry about replacing line every time. It was definitely an improvement over your standard, I guess, string trimmer, I guess.
Yeah, they make a bunch of different little implements for weed eaters now. I mean, I've got one at the house that came with about 5 or 6 different heads on it. One of them was a tiller head, so it's a little. I don't know what was in the little
6-inch, little 6-inch.
It's about 6 or 8 inches wide. It's got some little cutter blades on it, and I mean, I till my little garden with it sometimes.
But like I say, if you small food plot just by your deer stand, that's something that affordable that the average guy can get out and do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you brought chainsaws the first time, and we put them to work. I mean, I don't know how much stuff we had to cut. You need a chainsaw, but I know where you're going with
Milwaukee
this.
pole saw put in work down there.
Hands down, I mean, I love running a chainsaw, but hands down, the Milwaukee cordless stuff is
legit.
Huge game changer if you can afford to invest.
Batteries are
high
expensive.
output batteries. Well, see what the deal is. They've come so far with that lithium batteries technology in those, where they might not make as good a chainsaw as a steel, but that Milwaukee,
so
it's right there in the battery life and the power on them.
When we were clearing that fence row, Daddy was running a gas chainsaw. I was running your Milwaukee, and it had the big amp hour battery. I forgot what it was, 12, 15. It's the biggest one, high capacity. I could run one battery, and it would last about a tank and a half of gas on a steel saw.
Yeah, really.
And I mean, it cuts good. Now, they got a little bit more aggressive chain because I guess your chain speed isn't as fast as a gas one, and it don't cut as smooth. But as far as cutting, it'll flat walk. It'll go.
I mean, we're not lumberjacking. We're just trying to get stuff on the ground.
But if you're, like I say again, if you're the average guy that not going to go out and spend $400 or $500 on a steel chainsaw and use it one time a year, if they buy the Milwaukee kit, they can do the drill, they can do skill saw, they can do
pole saw, weed eater,
build deer stands with it, anything.
Yeah, you need to buy the equipment that's
more versatile.
Yeah, more versatile if you don't have a big area or something like that you can utilize all those things like Jamie and Mark's talking about. But, if you got a farm, like a full-blown farm, you don't want to be out there. I wouldn't put that battery stuff down. I'd get the gas saw. Because
if you're running a farm.
Longevity is going to not tear it up so much. That's what it's made for. It'll last for years. But
the biggest selling point for me for the battery chainsaws and stuff is just like last year. We were hunting a stand. We had a bunch of limbs that we thought were not going to be an issue, and when hunting season come, here you go. They're right in the shooting lane. You can go out there that day, cut them down. It's not making a ton of noise. I mean, it is making some racket, but it's not like a two-stroke screaming.
Yeah.
Hunt it the next day and kill the deer. You're not as disturbing the environment nearly as much with that.
Yeah.
So that was a big selling point for me.
And they're lightweight. They pack down if you're having to take stuff in. I mean, you don't have to worry about that.
Me and Mikey got off in them woods last year, and he had the regular saw. I had the pole saw, and I done limbed everything I could limb. And he was up there cutting some pretty good sized samplings, and I was right behind him with that pole saw. I was cutting trees down with that pole saw just like a chainsaw.
I mean, I definitely think that you need something with some reach, so a pole saw comes in handy. But you got to have a chainsaw.
Yeah, but no, that's been big for us down there. That's something it's lightweight. Anybody can use it, and it works out well.
And those are I guess anybody that's listening, that's some of the stuff that you need to know is like how big of an area and how much work are you going to do on that property. You know, you don't need a 100 horsepower tractor if you only got 50 acres and you're not. Yeah. Same thing with chainsaws and implements and things like that. You know, you don't need a huge planter and sprayer and all that stuff. If you got a small farm, you know, you can save that money and put it towards something else. And you need to buy the equipment and the stuff that you need that fits your farm, your budget, whatever. You know, there's ways around some of that stuff.
I think now the technology with stuff they got for pull behind for 4-wheelers and ATVs and side by sides, you know,
can get by with it.
Yeah, do a lot.
I mean, they got bush
hogs
for
in the tighter places and stuff. That's probably the way to go.
One of the best little discs I've seen a buddy of mine had, and he had like a Sportsman 500, just a small 4-wheeler, but it was the one that it's just like a 1.5 feet wide that goes in the receiver hitch on the 4-wheeler. And what you do is he would take it and he'd get out there and he'd raise the back of the 4-wheeler, put it in, and the weight of the 4-wheeler would push it in the ground, and it broke ground great. Now, you wasn't discing, but 2 foot wide, you know.
Yeah.
But on a small food plot, you go out there and run around, and that's exactly what he did.
Honeyhole plots or whatever.
Yeah.
He'd get his son. His son wanted to ride the 4-wheeler. He said, "All right, you ride in circles right here."
Yeah.
And
that's what I've always put. Michael and Mikey's had his, Will and them. They're the ones that drag stuff in. We had to do stuff. You can put a kid on one, tell them to do laps. They love it. They don't care how dusty they get.
No, it's fun to watch them do that stuff too because they're learning. And that's you can involve your kids in that stuff because it's fun for us to go. We go down there. It's all of us when we go down there. We take the kids, and they're jackassing around on the 4-wheelers and stuff, and you give them something to do. It makes them feel important. They're learning. Will's moved up to tractors now.
Yeah.
Teaching him how to operate, but I don't let him.
Not gonna turn it loose with the tiller.
No. Not turning
we got
loose
them
with
dragging.
the tiller.
We got them using the truck, going.
They can throw
loading
fertilizer,
up the fertilizer on a trailer, pulling it out there behind the tractor, and loading.
We need to find out what manufacturer that gate that we had last year.
The drag gate,
because that is the toughest gate made.
It was Will and Michael had it behind Mikey's truck, and I'm like, man, I don't know if they're gonna total the road out, total the truck out. It looked dangerous.
They had it behind your Can-Am, and they was going to the mud hole plot, and the gate had done got wedged between 2 trees, and they were snatching. And the gate never bend, and I was like, y'all gotta slide it, like turn it crossways, it'll fit between the trees.
Well, one thing I put on here is, a lot of times you ain't got money to buy this equipment.
All right.
But there's options for renting, and we did that last year. And I wanted you to talk about what it's, what kind of stuff is available to rent. We can talk about what we rented.
Yeah, so we rented a mulcher. Some of y'all may know, some of you may not. I used to work for Caterpillar, and that's kind of my background, I guess. And I worked on a bunch of mulchers and ran a bunch of them, and that is one thing I can operate. I might not be able to operate a tractor, but I can run a mulcher if I don't break my leg getting off of it. But
I don't think you ran it much.
No,
he ran
Jamie operated.
Operated. But
you ran it hard one day.
And
got down for a break.
Stepped off of it and tore 5 ligaments in my ankle, and I was in a boot for 4 months. But it's one of them things. But anyways, there's a ton of companies. A lot of the cat dealers, they have a ton of equipment you can rent. Mulchers, grapple buckets. You can get stump grinders. Anything to help you with the property they have.
Bang for your buck, that mulcher.
A mulcher's bad as the bone. It's one of them things.
What's it for?
So basically, you get a skid steer. It's about 100 horsepower skid steer. Mulcher is usually a 6 foot wide. They usually match it to the horsepower. But a sapling or a tree, I would say, 6 inches diameter and down.
Yeah, Coke bottle, 2-liter Coke bottle size.
You walk through it.
Go through.
And the good thing about a mulcher is that you can remove the trees, you can remove all the undergrowth, you can remove everything that is in that environment that you want to get rid of, but you're putting nutrients back in the ground because you're mulching that tree down.
It looks like mulch right there through.
And it's not a fast-paced thing. It does take a little time, but it's a lot better than bringing a bulldozer in and then figuring out, again, you're struggling with, washing the topsoil away. You're not taking any nutrients back from that soil. You're putting it all right back in it. So, you got, we got a sweet gum thicket down there that I got my crosshairs on it. We getting it this year. And you're breaking all the sweet gums down, getting rid of it, and you get it down to bare dirt. And usually, if you take your time and go slow and back over it, I would say, 3 months, Jamie, that mulch is pretty much broke down. Some of your bigger sticks will still be there, but breaking it down like that, it dries out quick and it turns to mulch pretty darn quick, especially in the summer.
And you don't have to worry about stobs, I've noticed.
No.
That's a
pretty
big
much gets
thing.
everything ground level.
Because, a lot of times you go through there with
Especially bush
chainsaw,
hog.
whatever, bush hog, you're
You
leaving.
still got to do something with stumps.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do with those small sapling trees that'll wreck tires.
Yep.
I don't know. That's probably what's wrong with
Yes,
my
what's
side
wrong
by
with your
side
one?
tires. Yeah, but I mean that's what it's from. It's just because bush hog can only do so much. But that mulcher, you set it on the ground after you get the tree down. You put it on the ground,
Yeah.
and it actually
Right.
chews. I mean,
So-
it chews through it.
The way a mulcher works is you can top the tree, grind the tree down to a stump, and what mulches it is when you go back over it once it's on the ground. It's a rotating drum. They got a drum style, then they have what they call a disc style. The drum style does a lot finer job. It breaks it up a lot smaller. It's not quite as fast as a disc style, but it does break the mulch up more. Once you get everything on the ground, you back over it, and you're pulling that mulcher opposite of the direction you're going, so it basically remulches everything else and breaks it up into finer material. Does a great job. They're probably, I don't know, depending on where you get it from. I mean, they can be pricey renting, and there's a ton of companies out there right now that's doing that for hunting clubs. Me and Jamie,
Yeah, I've seen them on Facebook.
I'd love to do it on the side.
we done it years ago. We rented one and then went and actually done a guy's hunting club, and we cleared off ton of
Lot,
acreage
there's a
pretty
lot.
darn quick. And it all depends on how thick your forest is and how thick your undergrowth is. And one thing I say it sucks on kudzu.
Just wads up.
Man,
Yeah, kudzu
you'll see
tough.
leaves 100 yards across there moving, and it's because it's reeling it in.
Yeah.
No, mulchers, they're very expensive, but that's a pretty cool machine.
Well, that's what I mean. I had on here to talk about what's some future things that we'd love to have or we're going to need. Well, a mulcher would be one of them. But man, that's an expensive piece of machinery
just
to
the
run.
head, your
because
average probably 35,000.
the maintenance and the tear up on it, you're trying to break that thing, it seems like. I mean, I don't know if it's true, but it seems like you're putting it through everything a machine could do.
And two, if you're a small farm or just getting started, use your resources. We preach that every time we talk, but there's a ton of equipment companies out there. A lot of your Cat dealers, a lot of your John Deere dealers, they do demo days for their customers, and they're looking for land to showcase their equipment on. Reach out to them, say, hey man, if y'all are doing that, put me on the list. I got a 100-acre farm. I got some stuff I need to be.
You can clear some stuff
Yeah,
for us.
and they basically bring their customers to your property, and they'll put a little road system in, and they'll set up several different demo tents and allow customers to run the machine. And granted, it may not be up to par as good as what you want it to be, but
It's a start.
it's a start,
yeah,
and it's usually free.
Yeah, yeah.
They get to use your property, and they clean your property up for you. So definitely use the resources that are in your neighborhood, in your neck of the woods, for sure.
But do y'all have anything that, talking about adding equipment? I know people are going to be looking at adding stuff. What are some things immediate need that you could see that we might need? And then what's some, long range goals, budget breakers?
Well, I guess, we're starting this new system, so we're not sure if we're going to continue with it. So, and that was what I was going to say too. We've already kind of covered that, is renting that equipment that you might need or you think you might need is better bang for your buck than going out and just buying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you need to see if you're going to be a conventional farmer or you're going to try this system like we're doing, or like Mark
Mixture of both or whatever.
Mixture of
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
What implements you're actually going to need, because you don't want to go out there and buy stuff that's going to sit there and rot and you're never going to use it. You're paying notes on that, or you spend a couple $1,000s on those implements and that you're not utilizing them. Just get rid of them.
If anything has equipment in its name, it ain't cheap.
No.
So, I mean, I agree. Get out there and see if it's going to fit your needs. It may or may not. And, talk to your guys locally. Reach out to your John Deere dealer. Hey, what do y'all got that
So
might help?
buddies are
Yeah.
using too. I mean,
Right. I mean, you may be able to swap with your buddies. They got something you don't have, or you may be able to get in, have a relationship with somebody down the road that's
like
got
share
it.
type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've got this, you bought this, and we're going to utilize it
Yeah.
together. And, eventually we may go out and buy it all, all of it. But
I'll come crimp if you come help
Right.
me seed.
you
knock
might have to
them out
take a little
together.
extra time to help somebody
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
to borrow something or use something that they have. But
I know we got to be on the lookout for a bigger sprayer. It's probably the next thing that we need to buy.
yeah,
I'd love to have one of those skid steers. I just don't. There's so many attachments and things you could do with that.
yeah. That's,
A mini X or something like that would be something that.
Yeah.
That's a dream one that we might get.
I think right now what needs to be in our crosshairs pretty soon is fuel tank. That's something we have not covered.
Yeah,
Is I mean, if you're running this equipment,
and we always run and filling up cans.
it's a pain in the butt, you know. So that's definitely, I think, with where we're wanting to take this, that's going to be beneficial to us for sure. Save us some time at least.
Yeah, maybe if we figure that out, we'll share how we did it because we've started looking at it, and it's not this day and age. It's not easy to.
No,
Nothing.
Anybody's got any tips?
You want to buy 500 gallons of
tips?
diesel fuel right now?
Yeah, anybody's got any tips on what kind of tanks we could get started with? Man, send us some messages. Let us know.
Well, I mean, that's like, I talked to Miles, or I guess me and Mark both did, talk to Miles about, what tanks he had, where he got them at. And he sent me a couple of different links. But, I mean, yeah, a new tank with the pump, you're a couple $1,000.
Yeah, it's not a cheap way to do it, but in the long run, it'll pay for itself.
And there's a minimum to what they'll deliver, too.
Correct.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
if you spend $5,000 on fuel breakdown.
Again, that's where your neighbor might have the same shape as you. I don't need but a 250-gallon tank, and y'all piggyback off each other and get that resource to you.
Well, that kind of only thing else I had talking about. We always like to throw in a little cooking segment on here.
We're not going hungry.
No. And since the crappie are biting now, I wanted to talk real quick about y'all got any good crappie recipes?
I do. Push that crappie offside and fry some catfish.
Man, you don't like crappie? I like crappie now. Y'all don't eat?
To me, crappies,
It's too clean a fish.
Really?
I'll eat it. I prefer catfish.
Yeah.
catfish to me's got flavor.
I'll take a
Crappies-
channel cat any day.
Yep.
I'm with you.
But no,
I like crappie though.
you
get
a yellow
catfish year-round.
cornmeal or flour guy?
I'm a yellow cornmeal.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm a yellow cornmeal. I don't like Captain D's. I mean, I'll eat a Captain D's filet, beer batter, or whatever. But I'm a southern. I call that southern style yellow cornmeal fried.
And I wish I could think that restaurant in something Tennessee. It's an old prison that when they building the railroad through there, this prison where they held the workers that worked on the railroad, and they fry fish, and that's some of the best fried fish I've ever had.
Really? Is it catfish?
Yeah, I think they do a mixture of flour and meal in their batter.
Yeah. Y'all got a pretty good catfish recipe.
Yeah, Dad's
Yeah,
got a heck
Daddy's
of
got
catfish.
one.
Got the marinade. The marinade's what makes
It's on my YouTube channel.
Is it? Is it
Yeah.
really?
No, I have done it
Yeah.
on there. Daddy used to commercial fish a lot. I don't know. And, a lot of these river fish, you catch old blue cat, it tastes like mud. And
Yeah.
You got to figure out a way to make that blue cat taste good. And
That's where the marinade came from.
marinade came from that, and
What's the gist of it? Eggs, mustard,
Eggs,
hot sauce,
Creole mustard, hot sauce, and lemon juice.
lemon juice. It's
Gotta have
basically-
Creole mustard. I don't know what
Yeah.
the difference
Oh, really?
is.
Creole mustard makes it.
Regular mustard
Yeah.
just don't do it.
I've seen the guys put yellow mustard on fillets for they batter them. You
Yeah.
tried that?
We've done it with
Oh,
spicy mustard.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that had the hot wing and fish place up here where Junior's is now?
Demetrius.
Dimitri.
Dimitri.
Yeah, that's
That
what he
was-
done. It
that
was
was-
mustard and hot
Dimitri.
sauce.
Yeah.
That was
Man,
a,
that was some
that
good
was a
fish.
heck of a catfish he had.
Was it catfish or was it?
It might have been fish.
Swat. Yeah,
It's fish.
it was fish. You got the fish plate. It was
Yeah.
not pond raised.
No, we do need to cook us some fish
Yeah,
now.
it's time, man. It's time for a fish fry.
Fish fry, hush puppies, biscuits. Good to go.
Man, yeah, that's one thing that y'all turned me on to was the canned biscuits cut up,
biscuits.
dropped in there after you fry the fish.
Yep.
Cleans your grease up because all that cornmeal gets on it, but it makes a crust
Good.
outside of them. You would never believe it, but man, it might be better than hush puppy.
I'm gonna say them old beignets Jamie cooked the other day was
They were pretty
fine.
good.
They're real good. Yeah. Well, that about does us for today, guys. If y'all ain't got anything else, we need
Buckle
to
down for the storm.
buckle
Yep.
down for this storm, and appreciate y'all hanging out with us. And subscribe to the channel. You can find the video feed over on YouTube if you want to see what we look like while we're sitting here in studio.
It might go back to the radio.
Might go back to just the audio version, but follow us on Facebook, and we're gonna come out with some other social stuff. Tyler, what other channels do we have out there right now?
Buck Junkies is on Facebook, Instagram, soon to be TikTok. So go ahead and subscribe to that channel, and we're on YouTube as well.
Welcome Tyler to the podcast.
Yeah, that's a producer, Tyler. He's the behind the scenes guy making it happen. But we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. We will see y'all next time. We gone.